Good morning. Today's video is gonna be a bit different than usual. I'll be talking over some gameplay footage of a run I had the other day and just giving my initial thoughts on Noita. Or initial thoughts in deep quotation marks because I now have like 100 hours in the game. It's also not gonna be scripted, so at any point in this video I might end up in spoiler territory, so if you haven't played the game, just consider yourself warned. Anyways, for those of you who don't know, Noita is a roguelike game, and if you've played a roguelike game before, you kind of know what to expect. There's the permadeath, there's the random generation, you go down into a cave, kill enemies to get gold, then you spend that gold to buy some items, some perks, some spells, and then you go deeper until you get to the final boss, kill him, and then you beat the game. But in proper roguelike fashion, obviously there's more to the game than that. The main selling point of the game is the falling everything engine. It's an engine that simulates every pixel on the screen and, depending on what those pixels are, they will interact with each other in some pretty cool ways. And a very basic example would be if you boil water, the water will turn into steam. The steam will then float into the ceiling and then condense again and kind of dribble down as water. And that is, a very basic reaction, and it's also a reaction that happens in real life, so you kind of expect it to happen. But then there's the liquids that are exclusive to this game, like concentrated mana, polymorphine, and berserkium that all have their own little quirks. And, just figuring out what those quirks are and how you can utilize them to your advantage is a lot of fun. And the other major thing in this game is wand tinkering, where basically you have a bunch of wands with different spells and different spell modifiers, and your job is kind of to combine those in a way that will make the most busted fucking thing possible. And they can get really busted, even to the point of just breaking your game unless you have a supercomputer to actually render it. There you are, fucker. Oh! Did he die? He died! That was quick. So the game has a lot going on, and I think the core game, the levels you descend to the final boss and the side areas along with that, is already just 100% worth your money. It's a lot of fun, and I really recommend it. My issues start to arise with the content outside of that, the secrets, and there's a lot of them. There's an entire world outside of this. This is maybe not even half the game. So let's just jump into that, and now we're gonna get into some pretty big spoilers. So a major gameplay mechanic and major spoiler in this game is parallel worlds. A parallel world is mostly identical to the one you start in, except it's missing some key points and there are some minor changes. But in the end, everything else is there. You get there by digging through either the right side of your world or the left side of your world until you come into a looping world. And there you can find new perks, you can find new wands, and if you're missing something in your main world to make your build broken, then going there is a very good idea. And for any good run, I think it's almost mandatory. So how does the game communicate to you that you can actually do this? Because it's kind of important. It doesn't. The game never tells you that this is even possible. In fact, it heavily disincentivizes it by placing cursed rock in between the worlds. Cursed rock is a rock that, if you step on it, you're gonna take a massive amount of damage very fast. And if you occupy the space where cursed rock has been, you're also gonna take massive damage. So basically, it's going to kill you. Most likely you're going to die if you don't come prepared here. And I think it's a good mechanic, because then an experienced player can't just straight off the bat grab some black holes and just go straight into parallel worlds. That would be a bit too easy. But for a new player, all they see is a rock that damages them and nothing on the other side. You can't see the end of it. But there is in fact an end to the cursed rock. And I think the game could have done a better job at just communicating that, you're disincentivized from going here, but there is a possibility. Maybe it's possible. So I think they kind of went a bit too hard on this. Let's say, for example, they put the cursed rock in intervals, and then you make it there with the all-seeing eye perk, or just the spell. Then you might notice that there's an end to the cursed rock. There's maybe a little breathing room in between. So it's kind of incentivizing you to push on a bit, instead of just being fuck you, you're dead. I just really think this could have been communicated better, be it by, for example, you find a tablet somewhere in the game that tells of a person who did this thing and found himself in a place very similar to home, or another possibility is maybe having a mural on the background somewhere in the game that just kind of visualizes that, oh shit, there's something at the edge of the world. If you go through it, then you end up in a similar place. They could have done more to let the players know, if they are curious enough, that they can go through it. So for someone like me who plays their games without any external resources, it's almost impossible to figure something like this out without the game giving any hints or just a little tell. Another secret in this game is very similar, but just not as bad on its own. There's a secret at the bottom of a gigantic lake. This lake is extremely deep, extremely wide, and getting to the bottom takes maybe, I'd say 10 minutes, maybe 15 if you're slow. I've never actually timed this, so I might be a bit off here, but just know that it's a very long trip. And then to get there in the first place, you need to either be able to breathe underwater, or you need something to clear out dense rock and just like dig along the surface. And again, it takes a lot of time, and when you get to the bottom, you get an essence, which is tied to one of the endings of the game. And that on its own is not the end of the world. However, when you get to another place in the game, there's a lava lake. And you would think maybe, well, what happens if I go all the way to the bottom? So you want to get to the bottom of that just to see if there's anything there. I'm not saying that there has to be something there, but you would want to get to the bottom just in case. Because the game is already teaching you need to be this stubborn to get some of the secrets. The issue is that there is no end to it. It goes on forever, and there's nothing there. And if you keep going on forever down here, it's gonna have the same issue as creating multiple parallel worlds. The game is creating too much data, and it's eventually going to crash. So by trying to get to the bottom here, you're not only gonna waste a lot of time, you might also just lose your save because it just loops. And that, I think, is just a gigantic flaw in game design. There should have been a telling you that there's nothing down here, or like there should be an end to it at the very least. But fortunately for me, I had my Twitch chat with me, and I generally don't ask for, answers about the game. But in this case, I figured that, I don't want to go down here endlessly, so I asked, is there something at the bottom? And I was told, no. This goes on for forever. And I then spent, I think, about 20-30 minutes climbing all the way back up. Again, the game can just sometimes be really unclear on what you should do and what you shouldn't do, which I think is very important when your save file is at stake. And then this last one, I think, is the best example of just how vague the game can be with its puzzles. It goes like this. In the third stage of the game, there are hand statues. If you kick it, it will spawn some enemies, and then you kill them and you get some gold. If you do that to every statue scattered across the level, then the last one will drop a broken spell, which states the spell is broken. You're then supposed to take this to an anvil in the fourth area and repair it into a functional portal spell. So then you cast the portal spell and it doesn't really seem to work. What you're then supposed to do is take it to the fifth level and then look at some statues. The statues will be either pointing horizontally or vertically, and you're supposed to see where those lines meet, and then cast the portal there. Then you will be taken to a little construction below the lava lake, and there's gonna be a spell waiting for you, which is, your prize for completing the puzzle. So looking back at it, I think this is a good puzzle. I like that it's there. I think it's very cool, and the reward you get for it is even cooler, but the game just doesn't do anything to really communicate to you what you should be doing. And there's many things it could have done. It could have made the anvil room look more distinct, the statues as well. There could be some more visual cues, or maybe some lore scattered around somewhere, or some, those glyphs that you have to translate, or just anything somewhere in the game to indicate that these things are connected and just nudging you in the right direction, because the game does nothing to accomplish that. But there are still some good ones, like the key puzzle, for example, where at some point in the game you get a key, and the key states the key is voiceless. So from that you can assume that this has something to do with sound. And then you're supposed to take the key to some music boxes and give the key a voice. So I'm not gonna go further into it than that, but I think that's a good way of, nudging the player in the right direction, or at least setting a theme for this puzzle, which is not the case for a lot of them, unfortunately. So I guess to summarize, I think this is a very solid game. It's definitely worth your money. It just has a lot of missed opportunities with its puzzles, because you're in the end, you're most likely just going to have to look up a wiki article and have the thing just outright explained to you, which is a lot less satisfying than actually figuring out yourself, which, spoilers, you're never gonna be able to fucking do because this game is so vague. But it's just a missed opportunity, man. That's I guess my initial thoughts on this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some place in the game where some of these are explained, but I have failed to find those. The way I found out about the contraption in Lava Lake was that, I was just digging. I was just making my way around the world, going from point A to point B, and then the ending of that puzzle just happened to be in my way. So I found the spell without doing the puzzle anyways. I feel like the game could have been a lot more engaging if it actually, gave you just a little bit more to work with, just a little bit. It doesn't require too much, but just maybe a hint, or just some visual cues to make a location seem more unique or meaningful, like the anvil. The anvil literally looks like any room in the fourth level. It just doesn't stand out. It's just bothering me. I'm just malding. That's it. I'm just mad. I'm just mad that I had to wiki something about a game because I don't like doing that. When I play a game, I'm very strict about using the tools that the game has given me to figure it out and not use anything external because that's kind of like cheating. But then again, maybe I'm just a retard. Who knows? I'm sure that the comment section is gonna let me know that I'm a fucking moron and the usual. Nothing new here. But I do hope you enjoyed my ramblings today. If you like it, maybe I'll do more. We'll see. Anyways, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.